Okay, start streaming. Hello, everybody. So, I know you guys have had some lunch, so not too sleepy though. So today we'll be talking about the command line, a powerful topic. As you know, as developers, the command line is key, very, very important. I mean, everything we'll be doing since we started this boot camp, installing NPN, the servers, gates, everything has to do with the command line. And it's very, very important as developers that we should be very comfortable with the command line and also know, how to use it really. Create files, create folders, directories, all sorts. So today I will be going through some of the normal basic commands that we need to get familiar with to create our files. So objectives for today, obviously quick intro of what the command line is. You already know that already, but just a quick intro. And then I'll talk about how to work with directories, also working with files, moving and renaming files or folders, replacing the default terminal with a custom one. So just some of the standard things that we already know, but might just reinforce it. I don't know, is this already streaming on YouTube?
Okay. Okay. What's a different page on the or just delay? Different page. Fine on mine.
Oh, good, eh? Okay. Cool. All right. So course outcome. So by the end of this presentation, you should be able to perform, the basic commands using the command line. You should be able to customize the default terminal as well. So that's the key outcome from this workshop. So I want to start with what is actually the command line. Everybody knows what the command line is. It's actually just a program that we use to talk to our computer only through text. So you're using text to command the computer to do whatever you want. When we talk about the command line for Mac, we use the word terminal. So terminal is the default CLI, command line interface for the Mac operating system. For Windows, obviously we have things like command prompts or PowerShell and some other ones. So Windows has several ones. So I just want to go through, because it's not really a full presentation only course today. So I'll be going through, I'll be doing some live scenarios as well. So as you can see here now, this is not, can you see properly? Let me kind of increase it a little bit. So normally when you open up your terminal to open up your command line interface in Mac, it has its own default terminal, which is this one. Let me just put terminal. Let me close this one. So this is the default terminal for Mac. But you can see I really don't really like it because it's not that nice. It's just very basic. So I use an alternative one, a customized one. And there are several that you can use, which are actually industry standards. One of them that we have is a command line alternative called iTerm. This is actually very, very good. It has lots of features that you can do. You can just download it, and that will replace your default terminal on Mac. And this actually works only for Mac. There's another one, which is my favorite, which is called IPA. And IPA, that one, you can use it for Mac, Windows, Linux as well. And why do I like this? Because obviously it's got lots of plugins, themes that you can use to customize, and also is built with JavaScript as well. So that's why I actually like this one as well. And then for Windows, we have one called Cygwin. I'm not a Windows expert, but yeah, you can use this if you prefer. But my recommendation is if you have a Mac or a Windows PC to use Hyper. And I'm going to use Hyper for this presentation, for this course. So this is my interface. You can see that it's kind of different, it's pretty. I'm going to also show you something called ZSH as well, how to customize it to make it look really nice as well. But for now, we go with this. So I'll just start up with, I don't know, can you see this clearly?
Yeah. It's cut out a little bit, but you can see most of it.
Let me just kind of go down a little bit, yeah, and increase it. All right, so when you open up your terminal, it opens up in your home folder, home directory. And how do you know? You type in what we call pwd, and you click on enter. It gives you your home directory, which is users. So it gives you the file path, users/Edward Coker, which is my home directory. So when you open up your terminal, it opens up in that directly. Now, if you want to actually see what is inside the directory, use a command called ls, list directory, and it lists, and it's to show you everything in your directory. So you can see I have applications, movies, whatever in my directory. Now, if I want to actually move into, let's just say I want to move into desktop, there's what we call change directory, which is cd, and then you type in, but you have to be careful with the command line. You have to make sure it's also kind of case sensitive as well. So I want to change directly to my desktop. So I type in capital D, E, and then you can use the tab, and it auto completes it for you. And if you click enter, it's changed to my desktop. So if I want to see what's in my desktop, I type in ls, click on enter, and you can see what is actually in my desktop. So we have Kodi, we have Edward Coker's iMac Coker as well. What else do I need to? So we'll actually understand that, right? Okay, so that's pretty clear and straightforward. Now, what if I want to kind of, let me just clear my desktop for now. Let me just close it, delete this too. Now, one other thing you can do, if you want to clear the screen, you can just go use clear, and it clears everything off. So you're back, but you're still in your desktop. So if I type in pwd again, I'm still in my desktop. Now, if I want to actually create folders or directories, and there's what we call MKDRI, MKDRI, which is make directory or make folder. So if I want to create a folder called Kodiri, I want to create a folder called Edward. I want to create a folder called, what else? Silicon. And then just click enter. And then if I click on list what is in the desktop, you can see I've actually created 3 folders on my desktop. You can see here as well, which is very clear. Edward, Kodiri. So you can see how powerful the command line is. With just one command, I've actually created 3 folders, and I can create as many folders as I want. Now, what if I want to actually move into one of those folders? So I can check print directly to just check where I am. So I'm still on the desktop. Now I can type in change directly to Codiri. And then I move on to the Codiri folder. If I click on list directory, there's nothing there. Now, if I want to now create files in the Codiri directory, I can use a word called touch and then create, let's say, edward.txt, bill.txt, and then I can just create any other thing, cache. I don't even need to put, if I don't put in any .txt, it defaults to .txt automatically. Cache, loan whatever, loan, and then click on tab and click on list directly. So what's inside the Codiri folder. You can see I've created, about 4 folders or 4 texts already, 4 files in the folder. So just with one command, I've been able to create 4 files as well. Now, if I want to now move back up to the desktop, I just click on change directly. That's CD ... So move back up 1 layer. Click on that, and if I put in print directly, where am I currently? You can see I'm back to the desktop as well again. So CD ... moves you back. So let's create. So let's actually go back to. Let's change directly to another folder called which other folder that creates? Let's say silicon, and tab. It auto completes it for you. Move to silicon, and I want to create some files. Some files. Let's say index.html, main.css, and app.js. Tab. Oh, sorry, I didn't put touch. So that's very, very important. You need to put touch. So that's touch. And that's index.html, main.css. Yeah, thanks. HTML, main.css. And app.js. Click on that. Check what's inside. So it's created the 3 folders. If I want to now open this in VS Code, I just type in code space period, and that opens in VS Code with all the files. So you don't need to actually start opening your file, going on to create a folder and all that. Just with the command line, just a line of like a command, everything is done quickly. Also, you can actually open up your file using what's in your folder, using open space dot, and it opens up my folder for me as well. So you don't actually need to go back and open it manually as well. All right, are we understanding?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, we've spoken about creating folders, creating files, changing directories. What else do we need to? What else have I not done? Now, what if I want to delete a folder? So let's see, where are we currently? So let me clear this. So clear. And then where am I currently? What path am I? So PWD. So I'm still in my Silicon folder. I type in cd dot dot to go back to the desktop. All right, clear. So I'm back in the desktop. Now, what if I want to actually delete a folder? So what I need to do is use a command called remove rm, remove the rmdir, and then the name of the folder. Let's say Kodiri. Now, if you want to delete a folder, you have to be careful. If I type in rmdr Kodiri with the name of the folder and I click on tab, it will tell me that the directory is not empty. So basically, you cannot delete a folder or a directory if you have a file in it. So the way to do that is actually go to cd Kodiri and then see what's in the inside, what's in the file, what's in the folder, and then to delete everything in the folder, you use the command called rm and then asterisk or star. Click on that. That deletes everything, all the files in the folder. If I click on list all the things in the folder, you can see there's nothing there anymore. Now I can now change my directory back to desktop and then remove the folder Kodiri. Let me see what's there. Where am I? Okay, yep. So go to remove directory, Kodiri. Is it capital? Small k. And then you'll be able to delete the folder.
So with the RM, where you've done the star to remove all of the files.
So yeah. So RM space star removes all the files.
So can you use, if you wanted to select a specific file, I do RM then the file, I assume?
Yep. So yes, that's another thing you can do. So if you want to delete a specific file, you can just type in RM and then the name of the file. So RM. Let's go into another folder. CC print working directory, and then list this CD to desktop. And then list directly, and then so let's see. Change. Let me clear this up. So let me change directly to Edward, and we want to see what's in Edward. So there's nothing in Edward, right? And if we create a file, let's just say main dot. So you have to use touch space main dot css. Now if I want to delete this, so it will be rm remove and then main dot css, and that removes that particular file. So if you want to remove everything, you use rm star. If you want to remove just an individual file, you use rm and the name of the file. So now what if you want to delete? So as I said before, you want to remove a folder, delete a folder, you have to make sure that the folder is empty before you can delete it. But what if you want to delete a folder with files in it? You don't want to start going into the folder one by one and deleting everything all over again. Then you can use this command called rm space and hyphen rf, and then let's say you want to delete Silicon. Silicon has some files in it already, So I type in silicon. There's a small letter there. Wait, let me go back to my, what folder am I in? So I'm in Edward. Alright, yep, I need to go back to the desktop and list what is in the desktop, and now change directly to Edward and list what is in Edward. So there's nothing in Edward actually. So let's create some files for Edward. So let's say touch. Let's just say file 1, file 2, file 3. And you list directly, so we can see that we have about 3 files in Edward. Now, if I go back to the desktop, which is cd ... and I print my directory, so I'm back in the desktop. And I want to delete the folder Edward with all the files in it. So I need to go type rm, which is remove folder, /rf, and then the name of the folder, which is Edward. Now you can delete everything in the folder, including all the files, no matter how nested those files are. And you click on enter, you can see that file has been removed as well. Now you can see if you can see here there is no more folder or directory called Edward. And if I list my directory, you can see I only have silicon left as well. So we've done change directory with ls for list. So what if you want to know what a command is saying? You can use, so you want to look at the manual, you can use a command called man, and then the name, so like let's say ls. So what does ls do? What does it mean? So if you put in manual man ls, it will list all. I don't want to put it now. I don't want to put it because there's a list a whole bunch of things that the ls can do. So you can, so if you want to find any definitions of any of the commands, you use man for manual. Now, what if you want to move files from one folder to the other? So let me create another folder. So let me say Migda, create another folder. Let's still call it Kudiri. So you can see that Kudiri is back. And so let's change into Kudiri. And let's create some files in Kudiri. Let's just say main.css app.js. Alright, so we have these two files. Let's see what's inside. So we have app.js and main.css. If I want to open what is actually in the file, I can click on open space that. It opens that, so you can see what is actually in the folder. Now, what if I want to move main.css into another folder or another directory? Maybe you want to move it to silicon folder. So what I can do is use a command called mv, and that is move, and then the name of the file we want to move. So I want to move app.js, and then I want to move it to silicon, and we need to type in ... So that is move up, and take this file app.js and move it to silicon. Silicon. you should be able to tap. Okay, silicon. Okay. So what that will do with that, I will move this app.js. Actually, no.
The
Move
I is missing, no?
the what?
I for silicon.
Okay, yeah.
It needs to be capitalised, silicon.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I was wondering. All right. Yep. So I want to move. So I want to move app.js from the current folder that we're in, which is we're in the Kuduri folder, into the Silicon folder. And if we check what is in the Silicon folder now, you can see that app main.css is not there anymore. And if we go back to our desktop, cd dot, and we change directly to Silicon and see what's inside, we can see that app.js is in the folder. So that's how you move a file from one folder or the other. So we've spoken about moving a file. We've spoken about deleting a file, clearing. I think there's another one as well. Now, what if you want to actually use the command line to quickly open up a file? So you can use the command line. So you can use a command called nano and index.html. No, actually, let me move back to my desktop. And I want to actually, let me move back to to my home folder. What if I want to just create a folder that I want to actually check in a text message? I want to check using, I don't want to log into VS Code or anything. I just want to just create a file and check it within the command line. I can use a command called nano and then create the file, which is index.html, and it opens up this command, so where I can actually just type in, let's just say HTML and then HTML, and then I can just type in whatever I want to type in, basically, and then I can save that file. And then I can save it, and then press X to exit. Do you exit from here? Sorry? Is it Control X? I don't think it's Control X. I think it's just. Yeah. Okay, yes, Control X. Yep. And then you can click yes. And then if you want to actually check that file quickly, rather than actually open up that text file, you can use cat and then the name of the file, index.html, and there you can actually quickly view what is in the file quickly. So Now, another thing that you might want to do as well is if you've actually been, you don't want you can't remember any of the commands that you've been typing, you can type in a command called history. Where is it? Is this? Sorry, history. And that will list all the commands that you've used, so you can see all the commands I've actually used today. So if you can, maybe you can't remember a command that you've used before, so you can use history and it will list all the commands that you've used. And then you can clear that.
Say it again. What's to see all the comments?
So yeah, so you can see that I've been typing several commands already.
What is the comment?
So it's history.
Okay.
So you can type in history and then it just lists all the commands, basically. So we've gone through how to change the command list, how to use the command line to view your folders, how to use the man to see what is in the manual. Let me actually open up the we've seen how to copy. Actually, we've not seen how to copy a folder, but I'll show you that as well. We've seen how to actually create a folder, delete a folder, move a file from one folder to the other. So we've not. So I need to show you how to copy a file and rename a file. We've also seen how to remove, delete a folder that is nested with files in it, and also we've also learned how to create a folder. We've also seen how to use the PWD, which is print the current folder path you're in. We've also seen how to clear the screen of a folder, and we've also seen the history. So now let me show you how to rename a file, how to move, and how to copy a file from one place to the other. So we'll go back to our terminal, and so how to actually rename a file. So if I clear this and I print my working, so I'm actually back in the home folder, and I CD to my desktop, CD capital D, capital DE, and then tab, and then list what is in my desktop. So I still have 3 folders: my Edwards, iMac, Silicon, and the Kodiri folder. And let's CD into the Kodiri folder and see what's inside. So I've got the main.css. So if I want to rename that, I use the same command I use for move. I use mv and then the name of the file, which is main.css, and I want to change it to index.css, and that will change the name of the file. So if I click on list directory now, you can see now that it's changed to index.css. So that's how you can rename your file. In terms of how to copy a file from one folder to another one, you use cp to copy, and then the name of that file, let's just say index.css, and then we need to move up a directory, so that'll be .. / and I want to copy it into the Silicon folder, which is capital S, and that will copy the index.css into my Silicon folder. So if we move back to our desktop, which is cd .. and list what is there, and then cd into our silicon folder and list what is in there. You can see now we now have index.html, and if we open it, you can see it's there. So that's how to copy folders from one, copy files from one folder to the next. So that's all the basic things you actually need to be able to use the command line effectively. Now the last thing I'll actually show is how to actually customize the command line. As you can see, even though I'm using an alternative, I'm not using the default terminal, I'm using a Hyper, which is still pretty nice, but you might still want to customize this more to make it nicer as well. So there's something we call ZSH, and ZSH is just simply a shell that runs on our computer, and that is more like it replaces the default terminal, but what it does is that you can customize it more, and it comes with a lot of templates, and it allows us to do pretty much the same thing the terminal allows us to do. We can also create files, folders, and everything. So there's actually, so the ZSH actually is a shell, as I said, that runs on the computer. Now there's a framework that's actually been built on that shell, which is called Oh My ZSH, which is actually very, very popular amongst developers. And what people use this for is to actually customize their terminal to be much more robust. So I'll show you the website, which is so this is the website ohmyz.sh, and what this does is that it helps you to so if you see my terminal here, you can see that I still have all this. So if I see cd, that you can see it's still not very, very clear, not very, very intuitive. You might want to make it a bit better, be more customized, and that's where ZSH comes into play. So you can actually use this to actually customize it, and the way you do that is that you go onto this site, ohmyz.sh. Now there are several ways you can actually install this. I mean, you don't need to do that. This is just maybe like an overkill, to be honest. But if you want to, customize it to your liking, you can actually use that. You can actually install it using curl or widgets. So I'm going to actually use curl now, and just copy all this and go to my command line and paste it. Okay, so I'm not supposed to. Sorry? I don't think, maybe well, I think maybe I'm.
Try again. That was right. Just get rid of the dollar.
Get rid of the dollar.
Yeah. Not that dollar. First dollar, right? One in front of SA. That dollar's not in.
Okay.
You just press up.
Okay, wait. Let me just clear it. Let me start again. Actually. So I don't need the. Sorry. I don't need the last one. You mean?
That will be better. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And that would clone everything. Do you want to change your default shell to DS? And I'll say yes. Click on enter. And it changes password for Edward Coker. Okay. So and that's done. So you can see he's changed my default hyper configuration, and I just close my terminal and reopen it again. Now it's not changed it though. Okay, if I click on print working directly, it's not changed it. Normally it's meant to have actually reconfigured my let me do it again. Like where are the edges? You need to remove users. Okay. So I think I can't remember this, but really what it's meant to have done is that I meant to have been able to restart this, and then the old terminal will have been, or my old iPad will have been reconfigured, so that rather than actually having this Edward, and if I type in print working directory and I CD into my desktop, you can see now that if I type in D with a lowercase, it comes up with no such file because it's case sensitive. But with all my ZSH, doesn't matter. It just allows me to be able to type in anything without worrying about case sensitivity, and it also shows me my desktop. It removes all the default file paths or anything like that. So I think there's something I'm not doing properly well here. I can't remember, but that's how you do it really. And then the good thing about installing the ZSH is that it comes with several themes as well. So you can see all these kind of themes that you can actually use as well. There are several things you can change it to make your terminal really nice. You see, this is another theme, Agnosta. So there are several themes you can actually use, Haro theme. So basically you can choose anything you want to customize your terminal further to make it as good as, because obviously the terminal is what you'll be working on. It's just the same way we customize VS Code with all the different plugins, themes. The same way we can actually customize our command line as well. So that's it really. That's everything for now. So the command line alternative, we've spoken about that. We've spoken about what ZSH is. These are all the useful commands. And what else? I was going to give you guys a bit of class tasks to keep you awake, to wake you up a little bit. You see that you can use the default terminal or download IPA or Item 2, change it directly to a desktop, create 3 folders, just something to practice with that you can actually do yourself. And then, because obviously if you don't practice, you might not really get it. So you can just go through this, just task, and then in your own time practice it, and if you have any questions you can let me know. So does anybody have any questions on the terminal?
What was the rename command again? So I thought it said MV as well.
Sorry?
The rename, the file command.
It's MV as well. So
MV, and then you do file.
MV and then the name of the file that you want to rename, and then
What you want it to be.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you can try it. I think everybody should kind of try this out now and see. And then if you have any questions, I can help out with that. All right. So thank you, and that's the end of the presentation for now.